Love, exciting and new. Come aboard, sexy chick. I've been expecting you. Yeah. Hey, friends. It's getting to be Valentine's Day, so I looked around and found a movie to review that was suitable for the occasion. So, we're talking about Heartbeeps from 1981. And I'll tell you right off, this movie bombed harder than the Enola Gay. Our story goes like this. One day in the near future, society uses robots with various levels of programming to carry out all sorts of mundane tasks. One day, a Valcom unit is brought in for minor repairs. He's put in a storage bay next to two other robots, a female android named Aqua, and Catskill, an entertainment robot who is programmed to do lousy stand-up comedy. Val and Aqua begin chatting, and one thing leads to another. Val decides he wants to go out and inspect the trees outside the factory, since one of his programmed tasks involves lumber speculation. Aqua and Catskill tag along on the journey. The trio are soon discovered missing, though, and Charlie and Max are assigned to find the robots and bring them back. As time passes, Val and Aqua essentially fall in love and even create offspring of a sort by building their own robot, Phil. Now, meanwhile, a self-actuating, fully armed police droid called the Crimebuster Deluxe spontaneously decides to go after the robots as well. I mean, it's pretty much a military droid, and it makes you wonder why this society needs police robots with that kind of firepower. They never show an instance where it would be required, but I digress. The robots try to understand the world around them with little or no context aside from their original programming. Eventually, with their power packs running low, the runaway robots decide they have to return to the factory. Can Val and Aqua make it back before their power packs run out? Can robots really find love? And are these robots fully functional? If you know what I mean. In our cast, we have Andy Kaufman as Val. Now, I don't know about you, but a little Andy Kaufman goes a hell of a long way for me, so I'm not a big fan. But he came off okay here, not nearly as annoying as Latka or his wrestling persona or any of that. He's actually likable in this. The movie's only 78 minutes, so the short running time may have something to do with that. Bernadette Peters plays Aqua, and she's perhaps the best thing about this picture. I think she and Kaufman were very good together as these characters, and I really liked her. Randy Quaid plays Charlie, one of the factory employees looking for the wayward robots. He's partnered with Max, played by Kenneth McMillan. He was in a lot of movies, but you may know him best from his turn as the Baron Harkonnen in David Lynch's Dune. Jack Carter voices Catskill. Aside from a metric ton of one-off appearances on TV and cartoon voice work, Carter did the occasional movie. He appeared in The Octagon. He played Sharky. He was also in Viva Las Vegas and The Happy Hooker Goes to Washington. Ron Gans voices the Crimebuster robot. He did a ton of voice work over his long career. One of his more famous turns was in Star Trek: The Next Generation. He plays the voice of Armus, the alien who killed off Tasha Yar for no damn good reason. Ugh. Christopher Guest pops up. You'll also spot Dick Miller as Walter, a night watchman. Jerry Garcia, the rocker, does the voice for Phil. Director and actor Paul Bartel cameos as a party guest. Kathleen Freeman, a very familiar face, a longtime character actress, plays a brassy helicopter pilot in this. Another familiar face, Mary Warrenov, plays the owner of the house hosting that party. Stan Winston did the special makeup for the robots, which earned him an Oscar nom. Director Alan Arish went on to work as a producer on Crossing Jordan and Heroes, and directed Rock and Roll High School, Caddyshack 2, Death Sport, and a lot of TV. John Williams wrote the score. Michael Phillips was a producer who had worked on The Sting, Close Encounters, and Taxi Driver. He also produced The Last Mimsy, a film I reviewed elsewhere on the channel. And Henny Youngman wrote the jokes for Catskill. Heartbeeps had all that talent and more behind it. So, what the hell went wrong? Well, in the first place, Heartbeeps was meant to be a sort of test to see if Andy Kaufman could carry a movie. Combined with the studio's research, which said kids liked the droids in Star Wars, and they pretty much wrote Kaufman a blank check to make a movie with robots. The special makeup Winston developed relied on a gelatin base, which led to disaster on location when summer temperatures in New Mexico played hell with the material, causing it to melt, needing constant retouching. And Arish, who was new to bigger budget fare, didn't help himself by agonizing over each and every setup for each and every shot, which ticked people off. And Kaufman was unhappy because one of his friends, Bob Smuda, was banned from the set in an attempt to get Kaufman to focus instead of pranking around. But that had the opposite effect. Winston was freaking out about the makeup troubles and credited Bernadette Peters with calming him down then and in the future by telling him, "Hey, relax, Stan. It's just a movie." He took that advice to heart throughout the rest of his career, since he realized stressing out wasn't all that productive. The Crimebuster robot is interesting, sort of a cross between a RoboCop and a Dalek. If it looks familiar, that's because it's a holdover from the famous episode of The $6 Million Man, when Steve Austin has to fight a Venus probe built by the Ruskies that accidentally lands on Earth. They brought it back for an encore later in the show as a death probe. Here, it's a refit to be the Crimebuster. I think it gets a little annoying after a while, though. In the end, even being slated for a Christmas release didn't help. It only made back a fraction of its budget and essentially ended Andy Kaufman's hopes for a movie career before it even started. The movie has an interesting premise and even has a few very poignant moments. It had everything going for it, and yet in spite of all of that, it still ended in disaster. So, just like romance, then, which makes Heartbeeps appropriate for Valentine's Day. The picture is rather notorious, but gotta say, I didn't hate it. Maybe it's just one of those movies. It's bad, but sort of good bad. Or maybe it's because it compares favorably alongside fare from current day. As comedies go, Heartbeeps is no knee slapper, but it is amiable and watchable. For what it was taking long chances, and I respect that. And the cast is really good too, so I guess I'll give Heartbeeps 2 paws up. Not deserving of a big giant box of chocolates, but maybe a Whitman sampler's worth anyway. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.